Hi everyone and welcome to the channel, and today we're going to be looking at a viewer's question and we're looking at tracing this image. So this is a tea tray, but as you can see we've got these beveled sides in here, and I'm going to use a part design workflow to actually trace these and create two bodies. So I'm looking at the top and the side. So we've got two bodies in there, and you can see how we've got tangency going across this bevel, and these can be any shaped bevel. As you can see, I've got a concave bevel in here, or they could be something a bit more elaborate. And the idea is to keep this tangency, because this is a B-spline going around here, and we need to keep the tangency across those because these are two separate parts. So I'm going to show you how to trace this, and we're going to end up with something like this. So I'm just looking at the frame at the moment. I'm going to show you B-spline tangency across there, using multiple profiles and cloning those profiles to put them into a multi-body object, and then using that assembly workbench to bring them all together. So I hope you're enjoying these videos. Let's have a look how I would build something like this. If you like what you see and you want to donate to the channel, then you can do so via Ko-Fi or Ko-Fi at ko-fi.com/MANG0, or via PayPal at paypal.com/paypalme/DarrenBEstone. I also run a Patreon where you can get early access and additional content, and that's at patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Links can be found in the channel header, on the About page, or in the descriptions of these videos. So for this tutorial, we're in FreeCAD and we're using version 0.21. I'm going to create a new document and we start importing the reference images. Go to File and come down to Import. And we've got the reference images here. So I'm going to go for this one and open that up. FreeCAD adds that reference image to the plane. And to change the plane, if we double click on the reference image, we can change the planes down here. I want it on the XY plane, but I also want it scaled. Now I don't know the scale of this, but we're going to say it's 500 millimeters wide, the inside part here. So what this does is scales the image to that size. So our geometry is in relation to size of the image. So let's come on to the top view, so the top plane, and hit calibrate. If we zoom in, we can decide where to drop the first point of our calibration length. So I'm going to come into this corner here and place the first point here. If you just see a mouse pointer that's an arrow, then we just do the same, just click there. And you can see the size is being pulled out. Now this won't be the size that we want. If I come right over to here, you can see this is 224. But once we click, we get this millimeter size that we can input 500 millimeters into. Everything resized. Now the inside of this is 500 millimeters. We can hit OK and we can start sketching. So let's come over to the part design and start creating the geometry on here. And create a new body and a new sketch along the XY plane. And hit OK. So the way we're going to create this is first we look at the object. Now it can be quite tempting to tackle this all as one. But if we look at the object, we have symmetry. And if this object is not in the right place, the image is not in the right place, then we can close out of this and click on our image, come down to the data, I come into the placement and shifting it along the X, Y, and Z axis. So I could shift it along the X and just move it into position. So when dealing with this object, we can see we've got symmetry going across here and symmetry going across here. So that means we only need to sketch this part of the object. This is a composite object. Think of how this has been made. It's been made out of wood, and a craftsman has been in there and created these individual parts. You can see this line here of the tray. We replicate that in FreeCAD. So we take that approach. So I'm going to use symmetry in my favor and only sketch this part and this part as two separate objects. I'm not worried about the handles at this moment. That is a total separate object that we can do elsewhere. So one thing to remember with this is that we're going to be using a B-spline sketch around here. We need to have tangency between these two to allow them to connect up as well. So we have to keep that in mind. We can do that, and we'll cover that in this tutorial. So first of all, well, I'm going to sketch the easy parts in here. So I'm going to use a polyline. I'm going to start here and place in this line, connect up with the vertical axis and come up to about here. So we're looking at this as a flat object. Right click to cancel the tool, right click to get the mouse pointer back, or escape twice. So we're looking to do an extrude of this part and then add the bevels in here. Let's place some angle in here. So this is going to be 135 degrees of angle. 135. Place that in there. And now we can start thinking about simple constraints. So let's place a constraint in here. This is more or less where I want this. And put the length in here. Try 240. There we go, so that's in there. And we'll put some distance in here. 50 millimeters. It might be a bit too much. Yes, it is. I'm going to set that as reference and hit OK. And just pull this in. And I can keep an eye out on my reference geometry and decide how far that's going to go. So it just allows me to read off what it's going to be. So this is going to be about 45. There we go, and that's back to normal geometry there. Let's come over to the other side and pull this down out of the way and set a height in here. So this one, round it down to 40 millimeters. So we've got our basic geometry in here. I'm going to place a height between these two to lock it into position. And we're looking at 135. Looks about right. Just doing some rounding as we do this. Now we can get the B-spline in. Be careful of this edge. So what I'm going to do is work from this edge and work my way to the left. So we use the B-spline tool, create a B-spline, and start from this point. We have the auto constraints on. You notice when I roll over, we get these constraints, and this is in this drop down here. The auto constraints and the auto remove redundant constraints. I've got those checked. So we hover over that, connect with a coincident constraint. And what I'm going to do is just move along, and I'm looking for changes. So I can't do that as a straight. I have to drop the points of the B-spline at the points of change. So I'm going to move this one up a bit actually. So we come up to here and come down. You may want to add more, may want to add less. This can be a bit trial and error to get this right. And I can see this starts to curve down this way. So I'm just going to connect up with this one. Connect up. Right click to cancel. The B-spline takes effect. Right click to get the mouse pointer back. And then we'll tweak this B-spline into place. And I'm going to start over this side. And we're looking good here. That's more or less how I want it. This can come down a bit. And we need another one in here. So we need a knot in here. So we've got B-spline tools here and the add knot, insert knot. Click on that and we get this knot that we can add. You can see the green circle here. Let's escape that and find it on our menu, just in case you haven't got it along your toolbar. So sketch, B-spline tools, and there's insert knot. So let's select it first. Sketch, B-spline tools, and insert knot. And we'll add one about there and hit escape. And we'll pull this into position. So we're just manipulating these into position. We won't spend too long, you can refine this a bit more if you want. And this is looking all good. Now I'm approaching this side and I have to be careful because I'm creating this as multiple parts. I have to be careful of tangency. So if we look at this here, we've almost got a circle. So we need the B-spline to be tangent to the other piece. So we have to be wary of that. So let's see if this fits a circle or an arc. So let's go for an arc, endpoint and rim point. And I'm just going to come in and add an arc and have a look to see how an arc will fit in here. So I'll maybe have to define this side to start with an arc. So I'm looking at this. I can see, well, I can actually get an arc in here. And I can control this arc with tangency against here. So this is good. So I'm just checking that. I'm just going to hit delete. We'll deal with that in a moment. So we've got the B-spline in. We've got no constraints against this B-spline. I'm just going to click on it and use the constrain block. So this will block all of that B-spline to stop it from moving. And the constrain block is down here. You can see it there. This one here. So we've got that first part. If I hit close now, the sketch is here. So if I hover over that, you can see it. Actually masked by the image. So I can click on the image, press the spacebar. Let's hide that. So we've got that there. I'm not sure what height to extrude this to. So I'm going to click on the sketch and palette. Now I haven't got the actual object in front of me. I'm going to say around about 30 millimeters. That might be a bit too much, but we'll go for that. So we've got the first part, the top part, but we haven't got any beveling or anything. We look at the image, bring that back. We've got this bevel that runs along here. This looks like a curved bevel. It's not a standard fillet. So if you took that and we could add a fillet to that, like so, or a chamfer, let's try a chamfer. It's not something like this. So it's more curved and it looks like a custom curve, so it wouldn't take a fillet. So how do we do that? Well, we would use a subtractive pipe. We're going to hit one problem with this. What we'll do is use a subtractive pipe along here. Because we use symmetry, we've got this planar surface here. So I'm going to click that face, click once, just select that face. You see down here, the face has been selected, create new sketch. And we're going to attack this edge here. So I'm going to pull that edge in using the external geometry tool. And well, we just pull in this point here. So we've got something to attack there. And we think about the profile that's going in here. It may be just a simple circle. So we take a circle, place a circle in here, and this will be removed from our object. It may be some kind of unique beveling. Just delete that. That point's there. So if I think about what we want, we may want something like this, perhaps. So 2 slots in here may make up something that we want. Look from this side and we'll place some vertical constraints, and maybe let's take away this one and this one, delete those, let's take away the tops as well. I tried to take a shortcut with the arcs, so let's place an endpoint and rim point arc in here, something like that. So something like this, and very rough geometry, but what's going to happen if we do a pipe with this, it will remove this shape from this edge. So I've got the profile. What happens now if I try to use a subtractive pipe across this edge? We're going to run into some problems. It's not going to go all the way across. So click the sketch, pick the subtractive pipe, and then we got to add an edge. The object has been added, the profile, add edge, and this is a single edge. So you can see what's happened. That's gone all the way through there, but it's stopped at this edge, and we've got this angle here. If I OK that, you can see what's happened. It's added the bevel that we want, but we stopped here. How do we get around that? Well, it's quite easy actually. Let's delete that pipe, bring back that sketch, press the space bar to show it, and what I'm going to do is select this surface of the pad, this face, and create a new sketch. I'm going to import using the create external geometry this edge here. Click on that edge. I'm going to place a line, a sketch line between this point, and I'm going to extend this out across here. I'm going to use this in the subtractive pipe so it goes beyond. Select the profile. So this is the profile sketch. And I'll rename that so it's easy to see. So select the profile, use the subtractive pipe, add an edge. We can either add an edge or click the object and add a sketch as the object. So that's gone all the way through there. It's gone beyond as well. If I hit OK now, we get this feature that we need. And if we're not happy with the profile, we can come in and delete it. And I've lost the point, so let's import that geometry there again. And this time we'll add a circle. Now I advise you to lock down this geometry because we're going to use this profile elsewhere. So let's lock this down. We could just lock it with this constraint. This one, I'm just going to add a diameter of 30 millimeters. Let's close that. And we get the profile we need. And it's the same for the other side. Select that face, new sketch. We decide what type of profile we want. So let's import some geometry. So let's import this point. I'm not sure what profile we want, so we'll just go for a simple circle again in here. Matter of fact, let's escape that and delete that circle. And I'm going to go for an arc. So look on the right, we'll put an arc in here. And bring this sort of around here. You can use whatever geometry you want. So what I'm going to do is make almost like a scraper in here. So let's use the polyline and bring this over. So we're closing the geometry. We've got to close this geometry for a successful profile. We can leave it like this, but we can neaten it up if we want. So I'm going to use this, and I can decide, well, how this is going to look. Something like that. Let's close that. So we've got the profile. Click the sketch. Let's rename that. And this is the outer profile. So we've got that there. Again, select the sketch. Use the pipe. This time add an edge. So I'm going to add this edge. That follows that edge along there. So you can see it. Don't worry about this bit because actually if you look, this is just going over the top. So it's not actually removed that bit from in there. And hit OK. So we've got that edge now. So we've got our first part, but we need to mirror this across to this side. Let's save this. So to do that, we have to take each of the parts together. So the subtractive pipe, the second subtractive pipe, the pad, and then we use the mirrored or part design, plier pattern, and mirrored. And we change this base YZ plane. You notice that we've got a problem. And it looks like the subtractive pipe hasn't come over. So let's cancel that. So the problem is that we selected it in the wrong sequence. This time I'm going to go pad, subtractive pipe, and then this subtractive pipe, the next one, and use the mirrored. So that's now mirrored correctly. So the order that you select those in must be correct for this to succeed. So along the vertical sketch axis, which is this axis here, and if we look, it's the YZ plane. So if we look here, we could use base YZ plane as well, and it will be exactly the same. Let's hit OK. So we created our top section. Now we've got to use the same bevel profiles to do this section. So let's start to create this section now. So we've got this body here, right click, rename. This is going to be the top body. And now we want another body for the side. So make sure nothing is selected, new body, and we get a new body in here. Create a new sketch along the XY plane and hit OK. So now we're going to tackle this side. And the same applies, we're looking for symmetry, so we're going to tackle just this part. And I'm going to pull in some references to the other geometry as well. I'm going to come back to the model, and I'm going to hide parts of this top body. So I'm going to hide the mirrored. I come right up to the top, and what I'm looking for is the pad, and open that up. I want the sketch within the pad, and press the spacebar in there so we can see that sketch is in there. And at the moment it's sitting basically above this sketch. If I place this on top, you can see that's slightly above. So this sketch itself, I've got to lower it along the Z axis. So the Z axis runs this way. If I lower it, taking the Z, just press down arrow to -1. What that means, if I click on the top, I can see that sketch better now because it's not on the same plane as the picture. This was embedded into the picture. Makes life a lot easier. So now I've got that, I'm actually sketching at the moment, I can import some geometry. So I want to import this point and this point, but you can see, well, we can't do that because it's not allowing us to. It's inside another body, so we've got to pull this in to our sketch somehow. Let's close that. Now we could use master sketches, but what we're going to do is use something called a subshape binder. The sketch resides in the top body. I want to select that sketch and make sure the active body is the one I'm currently editing. So this one here is in bold. If it's not, double click it or right click, toggle active body. Select the sketch from the other body and use the subshape binder. Or part design, create sub object shape binder. What happens is that's placed inside our active body. So the binder is here and we can see the properties here. This make face I'm going to turn off. True to false. When I click off, you see we'll just get the sketch. You can't see at the moment. We need to take this original sketch and press the spacebar. Otherwise we're going to select it again. We're going to get into trouble. It's going to say we can't reference that sketch. It will be on top of the binder. So let's double click on that sketch. And now we can start accessing the binder because it's in the same body. I'm going to import the geometry and take the points that I need. So now we've got the points in. Let's start sketching. Let's start with the polyline tool and place a line down to our horizontal sketch axis across to here. Hit escape. Also we need a line that connects up these two. Hit escape. So we've got fully constrained in here. Notice the rotation is a bit off, but we're going to work with that. Now to add the B-spline, using the B-spline tool, and the same applies. Connect up to this point, and we'll follow this going down and around and up, and we're going to deal with the tangency in a moment. Click on the endpoint, hit escape or right mouse button, and hit escape again to get the mouse pointer back. And that is more or less right, so I'm happy with that. Let's do some minor adjustments. Now we need some tangency in here. So we're at a point where we've got to create tangency across these two. Tangency to B-spline at this moment in time is not supported in FreeCAD. The best idea really will be to pull in the sketch again and use this as reference geometry. Therefore you get the B-spline knots and control points, because if we try to import this shape binder, you see we haven't got any B-spline knots. But we can work with this. So I'm going to literally trace part of this with a B-spline. Selecting my B-spline, I'm going to connect up to this point, and I'm just going to place another 2 points above this line. Hit escape again, or press the right mouse button to get those points there. I'm going to take this point and place it upon this edge here with a point on object constraint, which is new to FreeCAD 0.21. Now I can control this one and match that curve. To do this, what we can do is utilize the points. So I'm going to click on the point, attach the point to this curve here, hit escape, and take this point and this B-spline point on object constraint, and add another one, say to here, this point, and take this point and this B-spline point on object constraint. So we've constrained that to that line there, and you can see they're pretty locked in. Start moving this back and forth. So we've got a reference to the curvature here. Let's tighten this up a bit and bring this back here. So what I now can do is lock this down. So take this curve and using the constraint block. So block that in place. I want this control point here because I'm going to create a line between the control point of my other B-spline here and this control point, like so. So I've added that in. Then I can take this line and this point and use a point on object constraint, like so. Let's change this one to construction geometry. We have now got a makeshift way of creating tangency across there. So wherever we put that, we can see the tangency flows across those two. So we can put that in place, check all the others, which all look good, and then we can lock this one down using lock constraint. So we've got that in there ready to go. Let's close that. Don't need the binder anymore, so I can press the space bar. But if you look, we can now check the geometry. We've got this piece of geometry here, which was the helper. Double click the sketch. And we're going to take that piece of geometry and change it to construction geometry. It's now blue, and hit close. That has now vanished. We're ready to pad the sketch. Make sure the sketch is selected, click pad, and type in 30mm. Let's bring the top body back, click on the mirrored, and have a look at what we got. So far, we've got tangency going across there, but we've got to add the profiles. So that's our next step, add the profiles and create the subtractive pipe going across these. So we're now at the point we're going to add the profiles to this object here. So we're going to come in and add them into this side here and marry them up to this edge. Now we've already created the profiles. If we come back and look down in our previous body, the top body, we have this profile here, which is a circle, And also we have in the subtractive pipe, we have the outer profile. And I'm going to press the spacebar on that. We can see those. So we've got to make a copy of these or clone them and place them against here. So we're looking at this edge going along here. So we have a small problem in that the way I created these profiles wasn't the best idea. If we look at the profile, what I'm going to do is actually come in, and if I double click one of these profiles, we can see what's happened. It's not ideal because if I tried to create a clone of this and put it on a different plane, then this whole sketch will be cloned. And if we put it along this plane, then the circle is going to be over here and it's not going to line up with this face at all. So if you think about this and rotate it this way until it's in line with here, it's going to be over here somewhere. So this face here is where this feature starts. So we have to deal with that. Now, what I'm going to do is actually change the position of this profile. The tip I can give here is if we close this, what happens, we get a recompute. FreeCAD thinks we've edited that sketch and it takes a little while for it to update. So if we come back into our tree view, click on the project, right click and look down, we got this skip recomputes. If I check that, so now if I right click on that, you can see that's checked. And if I come into that profile and close it, you see a tick by the sketch. Nothing's changed on there, but it's asking for a recompute, but it hasn't recomputed. So this means we can do some modifications without worrying about the time it takes to update. So I'm come in and I'm going to take this point, I'm going to delete that point. So now this has got degrees of freedom. It can be moved about. We're not going to bother about this reference here. So I can click on that and delete it. I'm going to take this point and the point of origin of the sketch and make them coincident. So now that's there. Let's close this. It's still in the same place because it hasn't recomputed, but it's actually sitting here. So now what we're going to do is take that profile and map it to the original pad edge. Look at the profile and then look at the map mode. This will tell you how it's mapped, and we can look at the support as well. So pad face free. So we've got to find the pad. So this is our master object. So we look up, go all the way up, we got the pad here. So we click on the pad and press the spacebar to show it. The mirror is made invisible because this is our last action in part design. So the profile is attached to the pad. Now gone back to the pad, we can actually deal with this profile and reattach it somewhere. So come into the map mode, we'll click on that and click on the button on the end. We're going to attach this circle to this vertex here. At the moment, the attachment mode is plane face. You see the plane there. That's delete that. Now we've got reference 1 coming up. Click on reference 1. Zoom right in and target that vertex right there. It's disappeared, which is fine. Looks like it's gone walkabout, but it's somewhere there. Next, we select reference 2, and we're going to select this edge. So now it's on this edge. So we've got 2 references, the edge and the vertex. Come down and look for normal to edge. So it's sitting here at the moment. That's hit OK. That's now moved to there. And if I double click that profile, you can see it's now sitting on that edge. So we haven't changed anything. We've just repositioned it on that edge there. And you can see the center of the sketch is now at this point. If I close that now, and what we'll do is do a manual update, edit, refresh. And what we need to do is come down to the mirrored. It's going to take a while to update. There we go. Press the spacebar on mirrored. And what we have is everything's fine, we've got no errors, and we've moved that sketch. Now I can take this and utilize it on this face. So to do that, I'm going to clone it. Let's take that profile, come up to the drop down for the workbenches and come into the draft workbench, which is here. Now we're in the draft workbench, I'm going to clone this profile. Come up to modifications with the profile selected, clone. So we clone the profile, and the reason why I'm using a clone rather than a subshape binder or a shape binder is that we've got this nice map mode here, which we can utilize. So now I'm going to take that profile and drop it in to the side body, so this body here. Right click, toggle active body. So this is now the active body. If it wasn't active before, right click, toggle active body, it should be in bold. And you can see that's in bold there. If it's already in bold, you don't have to do it. Take that profile, come down to the map mode and click on that. Click on the button on the end. And what we want to do is come in and select the vertex of this body here, this one here, and then the second reference, saying selecting now, we can select this edge. Normal to edge again, and hit OK. And that profile is now moved to there. It's all in position. Let's test this now. What I'm going to do is just come up to the project, right click, and skip recompute. I'm going to turn that off. It needs a recompute, edit refresh, and that's all in place. Now what we can do with that body is we can use this profile in the sweep. So click on the profile, and we're in the part design already. If we're not, just come over to the part design, select the profile, come over, subtractive pipe, and that's reposition our window using this icon, fit all here. And we've got the profile as the object. We need to add the edge, and we add this edge here. That's gone all the way through there. Hit OK, and we get our profile added to there. Now you can see we've got a problem in that we need to go all the way past this face here, so past this face. So we have the same problem as what we had before. Let's just delete that subtractive pipe, and we use the usual sketch. Select the top, create a sketch, pull in some geometry. So we're going to pull in this edge like so, and then we create a line from this point all the way out across here. We can use attachment onto this point if we want. Let's close that. Now we've got that in there. Let's show that profile again, this profile here. Take the profile, subtractive pipe, again fit all, so we can see what we're doing. Add an edge. Well, actually we need object. We can use edge if we want, but we use an object and select the sketch and hit OK. And that's gone all the way through there. We've got a nice transition between those two. So we've got our profile in there. Let's do the same with this profile now. Again, I'm going to come up and disable the recompute. So the outer profile, let's double click it and have a look to see what we got. Let's make this a bit more constrained, because if I try to move this, it's going to go all over the place. So Control Z. And this is the reason why we fully constrain sketches. If we want to move them, it makes it a lot easier. If we just delete one constraint and off we go. So we take the top, make that horizontal constraint. Let's make both of these equal. So we've got that there. Should have set diameter first so it doesn't move. Let's set diameter. So that's 45. That's set just to something like, let's set this to 45 exactly. And that's set a length in here. It's 21. Let's set this to 20. We can change the size if we want, and we can position this. And I'm happy now I can actually move that. But we've got to figure out how far away from this edge we want it. So we need a center point for this. So we'll place this centered around this point here. Therefore, when we place this over here, this becomes our point of origin, and this point of origin gets placed on this edge. Let's delete that point in there. Let's move this constraint out of the way. Let's delete that point in there. It's the point that we pulled in. Just delete that. And we're going to add a point and just hover over there. So point in there. And we'll add some constraints. So this itself, I'm happy with whereabouts this is. We'll take this point and this point. Remember, this one isn't constrained, and put a length in there of 4 mil. And we'll do the same with this point and this point, and put vertical length of 5 mil. Let's position that. So now we can pick it up by this point. So we'll position that there. That's what we're looking for. Let's come over and bring this all the way back to the center. And we're going to take the point of origin and this point and make them coincident to each other. So what we're looking for, that's fully constrained now, which is good. What we're looking for is that when we do our mapping of this to the edge and the vertex, this point will sit on this vertex here. Let's close that. And that's come down. So we see that this outer profile, the support is subtractive pipe face 7. So if we look up, we're looking for our subtractive pipe, this one here, press the space bar. So we get back to that feature which we got to map it to. And it's on face 7. So this one here, let's click off, is the subtractive pipe. You can see that there. So we take the outer profile, come down to map mode, flat face at the moment, click on that. And we're going to pick this vertex. We don't want that line, so you can see I haven't even taken that off yet, so let's delete that. That's better. So reference 1, let's make sure nothing's selected. Reference 1, click it, select in. And what we need to do is come in and bring this around. So we'll rotate around this way. And we want this vertex. Don't worry about the sketch vanishing. Let's take reference 2. And we want this edge here. Normal to edge. And then hit OK. The sketch reappears. So now everything should be okay. So let's come up to the tray, right click and skip recomputes, turn that off, edit, refresh, wait for it to refresh, which probably has done. I just haven't selected anything yet. There we go. And we're going to come down to the mirrored and press the space bar. And we're all good to go. So we've got the two profiles still visible, and we've got our mirrored. So now we're going to move a copy of this profile over to here. So the same again, come over to the draft workbench. And what we need to do is take the outer profile, this one here. Let's turn the gridding off. Don't need that. Modifications. Clone. We've created a clone, and at the moment it's outside the body. Because we're going to use it in this body here, we need to drag it into there. And now what we can do is remap this clone by using the map mode, deactivated at the moment. Let's click on that. And first of all, I'm going to come in and select this face here just to move it. Let's hit OK on that. And I want to hide this body. So I'm going to click on that and press the space bar to get rid of that mirrored. So here's our clone at the moment. The outer profile, it's sitting over here. So now we're going to map it properly. The reason why I came out is because to get it positioned properly. So this is at a slight angle. And also I wanted to go back and hide this body here so I can see what I'm doing. So we take the profile, map mode, flat face at the moment. Let's change that, come into that. And we got plane there. Let's delete this. This should now say reference 1. Click on it and we come in and we want this vertex here. So we've got the vertex in and all of that looks okay. So everything's fine on there. Let's hit OK. Now let's follow this edge. We may need some supporting geometry. So let's come back to the part design. Click on the profile again, subtractive pipe, add an edge, add this edge here. Let's come up face, let's remove the edge, remove that face. So add an edge, let's zoom in to see what we're doing and click on this edge here, edge 15. So that's gone all the way through there. And it looks like we do need some supporting geometry to follow this through this way. Let's just see what we get. Let's hit OK. So we get that removed from there. And you can see, yeah, we need to take a bit more off. So we have this problem here. So we need to extend further out. Now we could extend this edge, but it's a B-spline edge. So we could use, say, the edge with a shape binder and also incorporate in another part of this sketch, but we're going to get a second face on here where the edges meet. So it'll be kind of a second face here where we extend this out. There is another way to extend outwards, and that is to use a second profile. So our sweep becomes multi-profile sweep. Let's come down and delete the subtractive pipe and look at our outer profile and press the spacebar. So what I'm going to do is take this one and duplicate it and place it here. To do that, we take the profile, edit, and come down to duplicate, selected objects. And what we need to do is start unchecking from the bottom up. And we see all those that have been removed. We've got the outer profile here. So our aim is to uncheck until we get to here, this outer profile. Just that one has a check, well, a grey box in there. Let's hit OK. So we created a duplicate of this profile. If we scroll down, we'll see it. Outer profile 2D001. That should be inside this body because we duplicated it from inside the body, so we don't have to move it. Now we have to move the duplicate to this vertex here. Again, it's the same process. Take the profile, look at the map mode, come into the map mode, and we got subtractive pipe vertex 10. Let's delete that and come in, and we need the reference. Make sure that's saying selecting. And let's come around, and what we want to do is click on the vertex. So that is now on that vertex. Unfortunately, it's taken on the angle of what we had before, so we need another reference. And we can use reference 2 and use this face. Let's place it upon that face there. And we need to rotate it. So come down to the rotation, and we could do the round Z, which is this one. So let's go for 90 degrees around the Z. And there we have that in place. So now what we need to do is create the pipe across here using both these profiles. So let's see what happens. First of all, select the profile. So I'm going to select this profile. It will highlight it on the left hand side here. Subtractive pipe or subtractive sweep. Now we need to add the edge, add edge, and we want this edge here. So that's taken. Now, if we move this across, we can see that we've gone all the way up to here. So we come down, we're looking for the section transformation. Drop this down, go to multi-section. Now we can add another section, add section, and select this profile. So you can see what's happened there. That's taken it all the way to that profile. Come up, hit OK, and see what we have. So now we've got a nice clean section all the way through there. So we used multiple profiles to do this. Our final operation with this is the mirror. So this is the same again. We need to take the features that this is made up of. So it's made up of the pad, control select, subtractive pipe, first one, and then the last one in that order. Part design, apply pattern mirrored, or use the toolbar. And then we need the horizontal sketch axis and click off. So that is mirrored over to that side now. Now, if we get some overlaps in here, sometimes you'll find that we may get a kind of face that comes out of here. If you do get that, then I suggest going back to the pad and looking at the sketch, this sketch here, and adjusting this edge a bit. So we just come in and delete the constraint and adjust the curvature of this edge and hit close. Everything will recompute and we're fine in there. So now what we've got is, if I hide the outer profile and hide the inner profile, pressing the space bar on those, we've got two bodies. We've got the side body, just rename that side body, and we got the top body. Let's do one more operation, and that's to refine. So click on the mirror, the last action, refine, set that to true. Watch this edge here when I click off. That disappears, so we refine that edge. It's all along the same plane. And we can do the same with this body here, the side body. Mirrored, refine to true, and click off. Wait for that to recompute, and it's all nice and clean in there. So the next stage is to create basic clones of these and rotate them around and connect them up. So we've got our parts, we now need to assemble them. To do that, we need an assembly workbench. Now there are many assembly workbenches in FreeCAD. We're going to be using the A2+. It takes a keep it simple approach, and it's sufficient for our needs with this model. To install it, come up to Tools, Add-on Manager, and we'll find it in there. And we're looking for the A2+ assembly workbench. And we just install it from here. Just click on it. And I've already got it installed, and we just installed it. You may need to restart FreeCAD. Once it's in, it'll appear up at the top here, A2+. For the assembly, we're going to need a new file. So we start a new file. Now I suggest starting a new file in a new folder and have your part and assembly in the same folder so you can easily find them. You don't have to do it, it's just a recommendation. First of all, we save it. Save as. And I'm not going to take my recommendation, I'm just going to save it to my main work folder and call it tray assembly. Now we've got our file, we can import the parts. Go up to 80 plus, and there are two ways to import parts. There's add a part from an external file and there's add shapes from an external file. Now these two do differ. If we add a part from an external file, we're only going to see one part in there. So if I come down to my file and I'm looking for my tray, they'll be imported as one and we get one single part over here. We can take a copy of this, click on it, go up to 80 plus and create a duplicate part. That means we get a duplicate part there and we can click on it, right click, transform, rotate it around into the correct position, and then create, look from the top, make sure it's rotated correctly, and then create our constraints against those. And that's as easy as coming in and targeting this vertex here. If we can't see them, what we do is just take both these trays, come into the view, which I'm already in, and set the point size up to say 4 or 8, something like that. And you can see those points now. And we can target those. So I'm going to take this point here and this point here, control click those, making sure I've got the right points there, and use this constraint, a point identity constraint, which is a coincident constraint like so, and accept that. And basically that's assembled. So we've got our assembly there. If we use the other import, let's get rid of these two trays and delete those and hit yes on that and import them in using the A2 plus. Add shapes from external file, we get more of a selection. So if I select that external file, that tray, we actually get the sketches, the bodies, and anything that can be used as an assembly part. So we can assemble sketches against sketches, but we just need these two bodies. So I'm going to select one and then select the other. What will happen, one will come in as a fixed part. So if I import that, you'll see them flash, and the one that we can move is not fixed. This one is. If we look, if I drop that in and look over to the left hand side here, come into data, you'll see that fixed position is true and the other one, fixed position, is false. We need one to be fixed in our assembly. We're not animating this assembly, we're not manipulating it in any way, it's seeing how things move. So general constraints, point on point constraints, edge on edge, etc. are what we're dealing with at the moment. So for this one, we'll take this point or this vertex, control click this vertex, again using a coincident constraint, and accept that. And then what we need to do is duplicate these parts and rotate them. So I'm going to take this one. This time I'm going to use the duplicate from the toolbar. This will become mobile, the duplicate will become mobile. Click on the duplicate, right click, transform, rotate it into position. Just check in using our Q to make sure we've got it in position. And OK. And then we'll zoom in, target the point. We could use any one of these points around here. Let's target this one, as long as they match up with this side. Control click this side. And coincident and accept. And last one is this side. Duplicate, come in, right click, transform. And I haven't dropped it. Let's click first and drop it. Make sure to do that and rotate this around. And it's gone a bit bizarre. So if I OK that, what we should have is over here. So I didn't drop it then. I forgot to let go of it before I went in and rotated it. But we're all OK. It's a bit far away, but we can just target this point here. Did I get that point? There we go. Click that point and I've unchecked that, unclicked that. So let's try that again. At this point, come round, zoom out, and zoom in. Which one did I select? Okay, so let's put mouse pointer over here so I can rotate this around, and make sure that we now hold down Control and select this point. Select that line, so click it again, still holding down Control, and select that point. So you can see both of them selected on the left hand side. Coincident on that, accept that, and we are assembled. Save off the assembly, and that's it. That's the tray assembled. I haven't placed a base on here, and I haven't done the handles, which is going to require a totally different workflow for that. And well, we've got the frame. That's what we was trying to do. That was our aim, and that's it. So I hope you enjoyed that. Hope that was useful, and I hope to see you again in the next video. If you like what you see and you want to donate to the channel, then you can do so via Ko-Fi or Coffee at ko-fi.com/MANG0, or via PayPal at paypal.com/paypalme/Darren B. Eastone. I also run a Patreon where you can get early access and additional content, and that's at patreon.com/Mango Jelly Solutions. Links can be found in the channel header, on the About page, or in the descriptions of these videos. I thank everybody that's donated so far. It really helps to keep the lights on so I can produce more content and also expand the channel. Thank you for liking, commenting and subscribing to these videos, and I hope to see you again in the next one.